The stapler hammered against my palm, one brutal punch after another. Each metallic thwack echoed down the block, louder than I expected in the cold, empty air. Every telephone pole, every fence, every crumbling shop window got a flyer. 500. That was the plan. Beware, lying witch. Emma's photo stared out, caught off guard, hair a mess, face set in that mean little frown I'd learned to hate. Not the Emma from our wedding, or even from last Christmas. This was her now, under the headline, lies 100 times a day, cheats on her husband, absolute slob and pig, has a heart-shaped birthmark on her left thigh. Ask anyone who's seen it lately. I added that last part out of spite. Maybe it made me a bad man. Fine. I stapled it up, one more nail in her coffin. Let people stare. Let her feel hunted for once. By the time I finished, my hands were shaking. Sweat ran into my eyes, even though it was barely 50 degrees. My shoulders were on fire. But seeing those flyers everywhere, her shame blowing in the wind, felt clean almost. I stood back, looking at the sea of white paper, and smiled. Not a happy smile. A mean, bitter thing. But it was all I had left. I walked back to my old Civic, keys digging into my palm. Every step felt heavy, adrenaline mixing with something colder. Dread, maybe, or just the weight of what I'd done. My hand was numb opening the door. I slid in, slammed it shut, and just sat there for a second. The silence pressed in. I let myself breathe, just for a second. Then everything shattered. Glass exploded, spraying across my lap. Something big, rock brick I didn't know, smashed into my head just above my ear. I didn't even have time to swear. The world snapped off like a switch. Want to know how I got there? Blacked out in my own car, bleeding all over the seats I used to vacuum for Emma? It wasn't always like this. Not before the lies started stacking up one on top of the other, until I couldn't see daylight anymore. It started in my shop, the daily grind, my little slice of peace. I built it from scratch. Didn't just sign the checks. I scrubbed floors, burned my fingers on the espresso machine, knew every regular by their order and their first heartbreak. On a Nothing Tuesday, I was wiping down the counter, listening to some Spotify playlist. Just another morning. Two guys, couldn't have been more than 20, sat by the window. Loud, like they owned the world. "This new woman I'm seeing," the first guy said. He was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "Older, yeah, like 40-something, but man, she's hot. Name's Emma." Emma. My heart thudded, but I kept cleaning. Don't jump to conclusions, I told myself. Emma's a common name. This city's crawling with Emmas. His buddy leaned in. "Yeah, she got a kid or something?" "Nah, man, but she's wild. Seriously, got this birthmark, shaped like a heart right here as..." He slapped his thigh, laughing. "You should see it. It's crap, man. It's perfect. Never seen anything like it." I stopped moving, felt the towel slip from my hand. My Emma? I had kissed that birthmark 1,000 times. Nobody else was supposed to even know it was there. That private map of her body, now casually discussed as a conquest anecdote by some strutting kid in my coffee shop. The blood rushed from my head, leaving a cold, sickening void. I mumbled something incoherent to my employee, fumbled with my apron strings, and stumbled out the back door into the alley. The stench of stale coffee grounds and overflowing bins filled my lungs, but I couldn't catch my breath. The world felt unsteady beneath my feet. It wasn't just the cheating, it was the casualness, the publicness implied by this kid knowing that detail. How many others knew? How long had this performance been running? The drive home was a blur, shock and dread swirling together, clouding every streetlight. Emma was still at her office job, the miracle job, the one she'd finally managed to land after years of swearing her old injury made working impossible. Years I'd carried her, financially, emotionally, every way a man can. But this wasn't the first time she'd betrayed us. The cracks went back years, all the way to that cursed slip disc at the warehouse. Pain, then pills, then the mess that followed. The woman I loved turned into a stranger, jumpy, secretive, cruel in ways I didn't recognize. I'll never forget that first real fight. She was in the kitchen, rummaging through drawers, eyes darting. "You looking for something?" I asked, already knowing. She stiffened, didn't meet my gaze. "Don't start, Larry. I just need my pain meds." I pulled a bottle out from behind my back and set it on the table. "You mean these, or the ones in the bathroom, or the stash you taped under the sink?" She froze, hands trembling. "You had no right to go through my stuff. I'm your husband, Emma. What did you expect? I found 3 different pill stashes in the last week alone. 3! What, you think I wouldn't notice?" She raised her voice, eyes glossy. I'm in pain, Larry. You don't know what it's like. I pressed, not backing down. The doctor said you didn't need all these anymore. He told you to see a therapist. You skipped your appointments, Emma. And then you told me you quit cold turkey. So what's this? I shook the bottle in my hand. She spun around, angry and desperate. You're not listening. I did quit, mostly. Sometimes I just need something to take the edge off. Mostly? I scoffed. Emma, you're not clean. You're hooked. And you won't even admit it. You promised. I've been here through all of it. Rehab, the relapses, the crying, the hiding. You're smothering me. Always checking up, always accusing. I feel like I can't breathe in this house. No, you're drowning us both. You turned our life into a goddamn trap. I'm your nurse, your parole officer, never your partner anymore. She slumped at the table, hands in her hair. I didn't want this. I never wanted any of this. I lowered my voice. How many times, Emma? How many promises? How many stashes? You're not even trying. You're just lying. Over and over. She sobbed, silent and ashamed. I just shook my head, feeling old and cold inside. I loved you. All I ever wanted was for you to trust me. Now I don't even know who you are. She whispered, Don't leave me, Larry. I couldn't look at her anymore. I don't even know if there's anything left to leave. And woven through that nightmare was the other betrayal, the one that pushed us into therapy. I found the messages. Late at night, huddled over her phone or tablet, bathed in the blue glow. Not porn, not explicit propositions, but conversations. Deeply personal chats with men online, strangers whose profiles screamed predator or lonely loser. She poured her heart out to them, complaining about me, about our fights, sharing her anxieties, her dreams for the future, things she refused to discuss with me. It felt like emotional infidelity, a deliberate walling off, sharing the intimacy meant for us with anonymous voids online. I remember the confrontation vividly. Standing in our messy living room, the air already thick with the unspoken tension of her recovery. I held up her tablet, a particularly galling message thread displayed. Emma, what the hell is this? My voice was strained, trying to leash the fury. Who are these people? Why are you telling strangers our private business? She reacted with instant defensiveness, snatching the tablet away. It's nothing, Larry. It's just talk. They listen, okay? They don't judge me like you do. Judge you? I'm trying to help you. I'm your husband. The plea felt pathetic even then. Why can't you talk to me like this? Because you don't get it, she cried, tears of frustration, not remorse, springing to her eyes. You always try to fix everything. You don't just listen. Sometimes I just need someone to hear me, to say, yeah, that sucks. Not give me a 5-point plan. And these random guys online are better listeners than me? The absurdity stung. How can I listen? How can I help? How can I do anything if you're hiding things, lying about who you're connecting with? The fight escalated, ending as usual in slammed doors and icy silence. That led us to Dr. Albright, couples counseling. Her well-meaning suggestion now seems darkly ironic. Emma, she'd said, her voice calm, reasonable. Perhaps channeling these feelings into a private journal could be a constructive outlet rather than seeking external validation online. Emma seized on it, bought a shelf load of fancy notebooks, and, coinciding with a period where she seemed to be tapering off the heavy painkillers, or so I desperately hoped, she began writing, constantly. Things in the house calmed down, a fragile truce settled. I saw the journaling, saw the apparent reduction in pill popping, and allowed myself to believe. Maybe this was it. Maybe we were finally turning a corner. I even tried, gently, to bridge the gap her journaling created. I said one evening, trying to sound casual. I'm glad the writing helps. If you ever feel like sharing any of it, just to talk things through, I'm here. I'll just listen, promise. No fixing. She gave me that tight, unreadable smile I now recognized as pure evasion. Thanks, Larry. It's really helping. But it's private, just for me. Private. Just for her. Like the online chats. Like the hidden pills I prayed she wasn't still taking. Like the heart-shaped birthmark discussed by strangers in my coffee shop. I don't even remember driving home. My head was spinning, hands clenched so tight on the wheel my knuckles went white. The first thing I did when I got in was go looking for her journal, the one she always kept locked in her nightstand with that dumb little flowered lock. I picked it with a paperclip. Stupid how easy it was. That's when I read it all. The names, the dates, the places. It wasn't just one guy. It wasn't just harmless fun. Names, places, dates that aligned perfectly with her late work nights, friend emergencies, solo shopping trips, clinical descriptions of encounters, scathing critiques of activities, casual comparisons between lovers, and interwoven the constant theme of acquiring pills. Met J for fun and refills. T scored me some good stuff. Need to hide the pharmacy cost from L. And then the parts about me. Brutal, dismissive. Larry's such a predictable bore, but pays the bills. Had to perform the dutiful wife act tonight. Exhausting. He actually believes I'm clean, lol. Sometimes I let him touch me just so he doesn't get suspicious. Feel like washing my skin off after. I wasn't just a fool. I was disgusting to her. The provider, the chump, the walking ATM who funded her secret life while she held me in utter contempt. I photographed everything, every page, every name, every reference to pills. Then I located the current stash, not just painkillers, but a cocktail of uppers, downers, God knows what else, hidden inside a hollowed-out self-help book on her nightstand. The irony wasn't lost on me. More photos, receipts from pharmacies miles away, paid in cash. I uploaded everything to a secure cloud drive, wiped my phone's cache, put everything back exactly as I'd found it. When she came home that night, I was waiting. She dropped her purse, kicked off her shoes, and looked at me like I was the furniture. "You're home early." "Yeah," I said, voice flat. "We need to talk." She didn't flinch, just rolled her eyes. "If this is about the credit card bill, it's not." I held up the journal. She froze for half a second. Then the mask came down. "You went through my stuff? You're unbelievable." I laughed. Ugly sound. "That's your problem with all this? Not the fact that you've been screwing half the neighborhood?" "Don't be dramatic, Larry. It's not what you think. Save it." My voice was cold. I could feel myself slipping, losing whatever was left of the old me. "I read it all, Emma. I know everything. Maybe if you actually listen to me." "Listen to what? To how you're lonely? To how it's my fault you can't keep your legs closed?" "You destroyed our marriage, Emma," I replied, the ice in my voice cracking slightly with the cold fury beneath. "The online stuff years ago was bad enough. But this? Years of lies, cheating? While I broke my back supporting you, thinking you were recovering, using me?" Then came the predictable pivot to victimhood. "You drove me to it," she shrieked, abandoning all pretense of innocence. "You're so controlling, so goddamn judgmental. Always watching me, always suspecting. You suffocated me." "I suspected because you lied," I finally roared, the control snapping. "I supported you through addiction, injury, unemployment. I paid for the freaking therapy. I begged you to be honest. And this is how you repay me? By screwing half the town and calling me a boring ATM in your little diary." "Get out," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "What? Get out of my house." Her eyes widened, then narrowed. A smirk played on her lips. "Make me. This is my house too, remember? Half mine. I'm not leaving. If you want out, you go." She crossed her arms, planting her feet, daring me. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. Not violently, but decisively. The switch flipped. The man who had loved her, protected her, pleaded with her, he died right there. What replaced him was cold, focused, and utterly ruthless. "Fine," I said, the word like ice. "I'm leaving. I don't want to stay under the same roof with you anymore." "But this isn't over. You think you can just burn down my life and walk away? You have no idea what's coming." I walked towards the door. She laughed then, a high-pitched, brittle sound. "What are you going to do, Larry? Cry to your lawyer? You're pathetic. You're weak. You always have been." That was her final mistake. Underestimating the fury of a man who finally realizes he has nothing left to lose. "I'm going to burn your whole lying, cheating, manipulative life to the absolute ground. You took everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from you. Watch me," I repeated, locking eyes with her one last time, letting her see the promise of destruction there. Then I walked out into the night. The coffee shop was quiet after closing, just the hum of the refrigerators, the occasional gurgle of the pipes. I sat alone at one of the small tables, the day's receipts spread out before me. But I wasn't seeing them. Moonlight slanted through the large front window, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Outside, the city lights painted the sky a hazy orange. For a moment, the bitterness receded, leaving a hollow ache. I remembered proposing to Emma in a place like this years ago, full of stupid hope. Remembered her laugh, the way she used to look at me before the injury, before the pills, before the lies piled up so high they buried us both. Was any of it real? I took a slow, deliberate breath, pushing the memories down. That man was gone. That life was over. What mattered now was the plan, the methodical dismantling, the revenge. There was work to do. The first call I made the next morning was to Marcus Thorne, known in certain circles simply as the Shark. The best, most ruthless divorce lawyer in the state, with fees to match. I met him in his intimidatingly plush office, all dark wood and leather. I didn't waste time on emotion. I laid out the facts, presented the evidence, crisp digital copies of the journal pages, the pill stash photos, financial records showing my support versus her hidden expenses. Thorne listened intently, his eyes gleaming with professional appreciation for the sheer volume of dirt I'd handed him. "Mr. Hayes," he said, steepling his fingers, a predator sensing blood. "This isn't a divorce case. This is a demolition. What outcome are you seeking?" "I want her left with nothing," I stated flatly. "The house, her claims to my business, any savings, nothing. And I want it done fast and clean." He smiled, a thin, humorless slash. "Consider it done. We'll draft an agreement so one-sided it'll make her head spin." Given this evidence, he tapped the folder containing copies of the journal and pill photos, and her likely inability to afford competent counsel once certain other arrangements are made, she'll have little choice but to sign away everything just to make this go away. While Thorne worked his legal magic, I made my next move. A carefully worded email attaching select photos, the pills, the cash receipts from unknown doctors, sent anonymously to the HR department and the managing director of Emma's company. Subject: potential employee liability and conduct concerns. I didn't make explicit accusations, just raised serious questions about potential impairment, policy violations, and reputational risk supported by the evidence. It worked faster than I'd imagined. Within 3 days, I heard through the grapevine, a former colleague of hers who still occasionally came into the shop, that Emma had been abruptly let go, fired. Her first real job in years, gone. Just like that. The next morning, the shop was busy. I was halfway through pouring a latte when the bell over the door jangled, sharp and angry. Emma strode in, hair unbrushed, eyes wild, jaw clenched tight. She didn't wait for the line or even acknowledge the stares, just marched straight up to the counter, fists balled. "You son of a witch!" she hissed, loud enough to stop conversations. I kept my voice low. "Emma, don't do this here." "Oh, I'm doing this right here," she snapped, shaking. "You think you're clever? You think I wouldn't figure it out? The emails, the photos. HR told me, Larry, you set me up, you destroyed my life." People were staring. I could see phones coming out. My barista froze, holding a mug in midair. Emma slammed her hand on the counter. "Why couldn't you just leave me alone? You already took everything. You ruined my job. You're spreading lies. I lost my insurance, Larry. How am I supposed to live now?" "Emma, you did this to yourself," I said quietly, my face hot. "You were bringing pills to work. You lied to everyone, not just me." She laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Don't act like you care. You just wanted to watch me fall. You loved it. She reached for a coffee carafe and hurled it against the tile wall. Coffee splattered everywhere. A customer screamed. Emma spun, glaring at the room. "Go ahead, judge me," she yelled at the stunned crowd. "He's the real monster here. He ruined my life because he couldn't control me anymore." "Emma, please. Just go," I said, not moving, my voice flat. "Go to hell, Larry," she screamed. "You always were a coward. I hope you choke on this place." She stormed out, shoving past people, the bell clanging wildly behind her. For a moment, the only sound in the shop was the drip of spilled coffee and whispers. My hands shook as I wiped the counter. I kept my eyes down, but I could feel everyone looking, and I knew. Whatever was left between us was well and truly finished. After that public meltdown, I knew she'd never come back. But it wasn't enough. Not after everything. The lies, the addiction, the humiliation. I needed the world to see her for who she really was, so I spread the flyers. I stayed up half the night printing them out, cutting, stapling, making sure each one had her worst photo and those bold black letters, "Beware lying witch. Lies 100 times a day. Cheats on her husband. Drug addict. Ask anyone who's seen the heart-shaped birthmark on her thigh. Every telephone pole, every fence, every mailbox in a 10-block radius, papered over with her shame. People stared, some took photos, a few ripped them down, but I replaced them. It was petty, it was ugly, but it felt like justice. Thorne finalized the divorce agreement. He called after Emma got the papers. "No deal," he said. "She's refusing to sign anything. Says she's not leaving the house, not giving up a dime." I could picture her sitting in the kitchen, arms folded, acting like she still owned the place. "So what now?" I asked. Thorne didn't miss a beat. "Now we go to court, and we go hard. I'm not letting her walk away with anything you built." "She's already making herself the victim," I said. "She'll try to drag me through the mud." "She can try," Thorne said, all business. "Let her. We'll hit her with everything. Her job loss, the pills, the spending. I hope she's ready for a fight." I nodded, jaw tight. "Let's do it." "Full war, Larry. She wants a battle. She's going to get one." I hung up, heart pounding. The gloves were off. A week later, we met in court. Emma came in looking like hell. Wrinkled clothes, red-rimmed eyes, jaw locked in that stubborn line. She glared at me from across the aisle, hate burning through exhaustion. Thorne sat next to me, perfectly calm, a stack of files at his elbow. Emma's lawyer, a wiry woman named Mason, shuffled papers and tried to meet Emma's eyes. The judge came in, took his seat. "Case number 24, DV 1108. Clark versus Turner. Petition for dissolution of marriage and division of assets." Thorne stood. "Your Honor, the petitioner requests equitable distribution under state law, per section 452,330. We seek sole possession of the marital residence, exclusive rights to the business known as the Daily Grind, and retention of all retirement accounts and savings. Respondent's history of substance abuse, recent termination for cause, and marital misconduct are documented in Exhibits C through H." Emma's lawyer snapped. "Objection, Your Honor. These accusations The judge cut her off. "Miss Mason, your client had the opportunity to negotiate a settlement. I see a counter petition was filed seeking spousal maintenance and division of assets. Is that still your request?" Mason nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. My client is requesting maintenance due to her loss of employment, health condition, and standard of living established during the marriage." Thorne didn't flinch. "Your Honor, Exhibit F includes medical records showing respondent was cleared for work over a year ago. Her termination was for cause, violation of company substance policies. We submit that any request for maintenance is unfounded. Additionally, petitioner requests immediate removal of respondent from the marital home pursuant to section 452,310, subsection 6, due to ongoing conflict and risk of waste." Emma shot up from her chair. "You can't just throw me out! I built that home too!" Thorne replied, voice cold as ice. "You contributed nothing in the last 3 years, Miss Turner. The mortgage, utilities, all covered by Mr. Clark. Your client's expenditures are detailed in Exhibit J, over $12,000 spent on prescription painkillers in the last 18 months alone." Emma's lawyer hissed, "Your Honor, this is character assassination." The judge banged his gavel. "Enough. Miss Turner, are you prepared to contest these findings under oath?" Emma stared at me, then shook her head. "What's the point? He's already made me look like a junkie and a thief." The judge frowned. "Very well. Based on the evidence, I am awarding sole possession of the marital home and business to Mr. Clark. There will be no spousal maintenance. Respondent will retain only her personal property and the vehicle already titled in her name. All other debts incurred in her name remain her sole responsibility. Court orders immediate vacate within 5 business days." Emma crumpled, tears streaking her face, but her voice was pure venom. "Congratulations, Larry. You ruined me." Thorne just smiled. "You did that yourself." The judge signed off. "Divorce is granted. All terms as stated. Court is adjourned." Emma snatched up her bag and stormed out, shoving past me without a word. Thorne stood, shook my hand. "It's over, Larry. She can't touch you or the shop. You won." I nodded hollow as I walked out into the gray afternoon. The victory felt cold, but it was done. I walked out of the courthouse alone for the first time in what felt like forever. The air tasted cold, sharp. I let myself breathe deep. I walked to the mall parking lot where I'd left my car. At the bottom of the steps, I spotted a few of my flyers stuck to the lamppost, lying which in bold black marker, Emma's scowling face underneath. Some were half torn, flapping in the breeze, but most were still there for the whole world to see. I had to admit, I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. "Nice job, Larry," I thought to myself. "You really went all the way." I got in the car, closed the door, hands finally steady. For a second, I just sat there, letting the feelings settle. Then, everything shattered. A heavy rock came crashing through the driver's side window, glass exploding into the seat. The next second, pain burst white-hot as the rock smashed into my temple. All I saw was the blur of my own flyers through the glass. And then, nothing. I woke up to the rhythmic beeping of machines and the sterile smell of hospital disinfectant. My head throbbed with a deep, bone-jarring ache. I tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness and nausea forced me back down onto the thin mattress. My left temple felt swollen, tender to the touch. "Easy there, champ. Don't try to get up too fast." I blinked, focusing. Marcus Thorne, my shark lawyer, stood beside the bed, looking incongruously sharp in his tailored suit amidst the hospital drabness. What happened?" I croaked, my throat dry. "Someone took exception to your interior decorating efforts," Thorne said dryly. "Threw a rock through your car window while you were sitting in it. Gave you a nasty concussion. You've been out for a few hours." Memory flooded back. "The police?" I asked. "Already here. Took a preliminary statement while you were unconscious. They're checking security footage from the shops across the street where you parked. Said there's a good chance they caught whoever did it on camera." Thorne allowed himself another thin smile. "Property damage adds a nice little wrinkle to the divorce proceedings, wouldn't you say?" He was right. If it was Emma, and I had no doubt it was, she just handed me even more leverage. Her impulsive, violent rage was just another nail in her coffin. It took the police less than a day. The security footage was grainy but clear enough. Emma, unmistakable even in the poor light, lurking near my car, picking up a landscaping rock from a nearby garden bed, waiting until I got in, then hurling it with surprising force before sprinting away into the darkness. Her final, desperate act of defiance. And her biggest mistake. The legal battle, if you could call it that, was swift and brutal. We added the assault charges, backed by the police report, and the video evidence. We sued for my medical bills and damages. Emma, jobless, broke, and facing criminal charges, had no fight left in her. Her legal aid lawyer advised her to take whatever deal she could get. In court, the judge barely glanced at her. Emma was ordered to pay my medical expenses. A payment plan was set up, pennies on the dollar I'd likely never see in full, but the judgment stood. She got probation for the attack, avoiding jail time only because it was a first offense and I didn't push for it. Seeing her locked up felt less satisfying than watching her life fall apart in the real world. After all, Emma had to vacate our house. I entered the house together with the cop. I stood in the hallway, arms folded. The deputy leaned in the doorway, silent, just watching. Emma moved through the house like a ghost, stuffing clothes and toiletries into 2 battered bags. Her hands shook. She kept her eyes down, never looking at me, never speaking. The house was dead quiet except for the clatter of cheap hangers and the zip of luggage. When she finally stepped out, her head was high, but her face was drained and hard. She pushed past me, bags bumping her legs, the cop trailing behind. At the front door, she paused like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. Just that tight little smirk she always put on when she was losing. Then she was gone. That was it. After everything, the house was finally mine. And for the first time, completely empty. The last I heard, maybe 6 months ago, from that same gossiping former colleague, Emma's, working the graveyard shift at a rundown gas station out on the highway. Minimum wage. Still battling the pills, apparently. Living in some fleabag apartment complex. Dating one of the mechanics who works there, a real prize they call Greasy Mike. And the kicker? Word is Greasy Mike is already stepping out on her with the cashier from the day shift. I felt a cold, sharp thrill hearing that. No pity, no remorse. Boomerang, sweetheart. What goes around comes around. And sometimes it hits you right between the eyes. Hard.